Hello and welcome to Space Engineers. My name is Dominic Falcon, and today I'd like to go over something that I wish I had been taught a little bit more about before I started the game, and that is atmospheric mining. Now, there's a fair number of tutorials, and it's fairly easy to figure out what's going on when you are simply mining with a hand drill. But when you want to step up and move up to a ship, there are a couple of build guides, but I never really found something that got into the details of how to actually do the mining itself. So that's what I figured I'd go ahead and do here. So the first thing is I'd like to introduce you to Butte. This is my nasty looking little mining vessel. Isn't she a beauty? So there are a couple of things that are of particular note about this. The first is Butte has a large atmospheric thruster facing directly forward, and it also has a large atmospheric thruster facing directly downwards. Now, the reason for this is fairly straightforward. When you are mining, you are going to pick up a lot of weight very, very quickly, and so you need to be able to lift, the weight of all the ore that you pick up. The next thing to note is a fairly straightforward thing. I have two batteries powering this craft. Fairly standard batteries. I don't have any solar panels. I have a medium-sized cargo container, a standard cockpit with a connector. Now, the connector is connected to the cockpit just because it ended up putting the connector a little bit more towards the center of the vehicle. All of the mining drills are plumbed into a central conveyor system, and those feed directly into the cargo container. There's an ore detector, a gyro, all the usual things that you need in order to actually make your ship run. And then the final thing that's actually a little bit different is I have 3 ejection ports connected to the cargo container. Actually they're connected up to the connector. No? How are these wired up? It's been a little bit. So I actually believe that they are wired into the connector here via a sorting block. Now the sorting block is set to only allow through stone, and then all that stone is summarily ejected from these injectors. And I'll actually go through the settings here momentarily. So let's take a look here inside the actual cockpit itself. And I'll go ahead and pull up the settings. And you can see here I've gone ahead and grouped up the batteries, I've grouped up the drills, I've grouped up all the lights. That includes a couple of interior lights and a pair of spotlights on the front. And I've also set up a damper to represent the large atmospheric thruster on the front of the craft. So let's talk very briefly about the conveyor sorter. So the small conveyor sorter is simply set to have a filter mode of whitelist. It's going to filter stone, and it's going to drain all. That means that it's going to pull all stone that is connected to the conveyor system through itself and pass it on to whatever's behind it. And then what is behind it are a number of ejectors. And all that these ejectors do is they throw out and they collect everything. So you'll see when I'm mining that I'll be dropping small stone rocks behind me. This is for one very simple reason. I don't need more stone. That's it. That's all that there is to it. There's nothing else of any real interest back in here. So let's go ahead and go to the cockpit settings. So in spot 1 is my drill, and I pulled it into slot 1 from the weapons and tools category in order to give me a left and right click functionality on the drill itself. Number 2 is the drill group, pulled from the group's toolbar. This allows me, it's set with a single toggle block on and off. This allows me to not have to hold down left click once I actually go to where I'm mining. Number 7 are my lights. Number 8 are my batteries, and the batteries are set to recharge on off. So when I'm connected to the station, since my station primarily uses nuclear power, I want to switch my batteries into recharge so that the nuclear power doesn't filter into the batteries and then back into the station for all the refineries. It allows me to connect up, offload, or charge up my batteries. With the system that I have, I can go from empty to full charge in about 4 or 5 minutes, which is more than enough time to get out, do some construction, realize I need more of a particular ore, get back in, and I have a full charge. And then number 9 is the dampers from the groups. And this is simply set to toggle block on off. And I will show you very briefly what that allows me to do. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my signals back on, and you can see over here that I have an ice lake that's about 30 kilometers away. It's not the only ice lake that's out there, but it's the one that I've been using. The area that I landed is very sparse for actually having ice. Not even that butte up there has ice. So when I have to go get ice, I have to travel quite a distance, and this is where having those dampers off comes in really, really handy, because then I can simply get to a reasonable altitude, and I can turn off the dampers with 9. I can hold forward, and I'll start to speed up. Let me actually put my crosshairs up near the horizon indicator, and I'll start to speed up. And then once I get to full speed, I can let go of my thrusters, and you'll see my power usage dropped way down. And just by keeping my crosshairs a little bit below that horizon indicator, the passive thrust of my rearward facing thrusters is sufficient to keep me at the speed limit. So, since I don't want to go off and mine ice, mining ice is ironically one of the easier things to mine at altitude. I'm instead going to stop there. I'm going to make sure that my dampers are still re-engaged, make sure that my craft is ready to go, and we're going to go find a mine. Now, what do I need? I could really use some silicon, so we're going to make my way over and find silicon. Yes, you'll see here I did later find a second ice lake that's only 20 kilometers away. I found that sometime later, since it was a distance out, and I happened to head that other direction with my scout ship initially. So let's find some silicon. Now, all of these GPS points I actually created with my initial lander. Since it has a large ore detector, I could get down, I could see pretty much everything that was going on below me, and so I went ahead and mapped out what was nearby. There we go, nickel, silicon, and magnesium. We'll go ahead and go to that one right there. I'm pretty sure that's the one that I have previously, I've previously gotten in here using hand drilling. And again, I would pick up my initial landing craft, since it was set to not destroy itself on creation, and I would simply go down, do some hand mining, load it in, and come out. Now, one thing you'll notice here is I am facing downwards at a pretty steep angle, and I'm not moving at all, and that's at least partially because I'm empty, and partially because I have that very large forward-facing thruster on. And so that lets me go in at some pretty ridiculous angles and not have to worry about crashing, which is a very nice thing. So I'm going to just jog around here a little bit. Okay, it looks like that mine entrance is actually So one thing you do have to be careful of is tilting. You don't want to tilt too much to one side or the other because we don't have the large thrusters pointing off on the sides. That's something that I'm considering changing in a future iteration, but this one works. This one works remarkably well. Okay. There's my initial borehole. Which direction is that facing? That's going to drive me a little bit nuts now. I'm pretty sure it's going down this way. So, using my hand-drilled hole, I'm going to use that as a reference to find my way down to the silicon. Now, I'm going to get in close. I can kind of use my shadow as a reference here if it's daytime. Otherwise, I just have to be very, very careful. I'm going to turn on my lights because I'm going to need those suckers. And I'm going to hold down right click. And I am going to move forward very, very slowly. Now again, I have to be careful here to ensure that I am not getting too far off of level. You'll see the horizon indicator. My horizon barely shows up, so I kind of need to tilt a little bit every once in a while and get a point of reference in here to make sure that I'm not getting off level. And the key is moving slowly, because if I move nice and slowly while holding down right click, I create a ridiculously large hole. Okay, we're actually approaching some nickel here, so we're going to switch from right click to using the number 2. So I'll turn on my drills with 2, and again I will move forward very, very slowly. I'm actually going to check my horizon here really quick. You'll notice I have plenty of room around me to do that. Now that I'm level again, I'm going to go ahead and move into the rock face. Now, in the bottom right hand corner, you're going to see my weight going up. Now, the magic number for this ship, for this configuration, is about 35,000 kilograms. If I hit 35,000 kilograms, that is about the max that I can do. So you'll see the normal operation of the drill is somewhat slower than the right-click operation of the drill. And so I just have to keep that in mind as I go. There we go, still on a good level. So I'm keeping an eye on not only my level, but my weight. And I'm relying on those ejectors down there to ensure that none of that weight is stone. I think I need to re-level here a little bit. Oh yeah, way off bubble. And since my right-click mining gave me plenty of clearance around, I have plenty of room to maneuver, to check my level, to check my bubble, and still mine out all of this ore. Now if I didn't need nickel, I'd probably just skip this with right click and go all the way back on down to the silicon. And you can actually start to see silicon indicators showing up because of the ore detector embedded in this ship itself. I've got to right myself again here. So we're up to 31,000 pounds. So let's stop the drill for a moment and let's look at what is in our inventory. I am not kicking out stone, so that tells me that I have a bit of a problem here. So the conveyor sorter is on. It's set to remove stone. My ejectors are on. So I probably actually have, so that's showing red. What do you want to bet? Yeah, I think what may have happened is I made a modification to lower the connector to let Butte land more easily. So that's actually a mistake, and that's something that I am absolutely going to have to fix because as you can see, my inventory is being filled up with stone, and that's, you know, 500 pounds of stone, and that's going to keep growing. So, okay, got extra stone, don't like that, something I need to fix. So, always worth checking, where am I? Okay, so let's go ahead and get up closer to the 35,000 kilogram limit. Oh, way off bubble. And as I get closer to that limit, that number starts to matter more and more. So 32,000. Back on bubble. Okay, so I'm actually at an angle right now where my horizon indicator is nicely on the screen, so that's nice. We're going to back up a little bit here, and we're going to move down and start working on this patch of nickel right below us. Yep, and she's becoming a little bit more unwieldy the more and more we work with, or the closer we reach to that limit. And you'll notice that I'm just trying to make sure that everything I do is nice and slow and even. We don't want to shoot past our limit, and we don't want our craft to tip, because with this much stone, we're going to crash. We're not going to be able to hold ourselves upright with the thrusters that I have on the other. Okay. Notice I moved very quickly. Okay, there we go. 35,000 pounds. This is full reverse. You'll notice I'm not accelerating too quickly. Now we're going to come back up. We're going to make sure that we stay on level here. And I don't move that quickly up either. So I have a nice full load of stone. So rotate back, aim towards my base. Shut off the damper. And adjust my view here just a little bit. Need to make sure that we clear that hill. There we go. We will now clear the hill. Pick up just a little bit of speed. Again, we need to be careful. Keep ourselves on the bubble. And don't crash into the base once we get there. Excellent. Now you'll notice my battery. My battery started out doing this at about 1 hour. So even, I'm going to re-engage dampeners now. Make sure we stop in plenty of time. So even with, you know, a lot of hovering, a lot of moving, a lot of drilling, you know, getting a full load of ore, the two batteries fully charged are more than capable of sustaining this mining craft. I can even reasonably get to the ice lake and back and still have a ridiculous amount of flight time left over should I need it. So there's the unload point that I'm going to use. I'm going to rotate again watching the bubble because it's moving on me. Alrighty, taking this really easy here. Full load, I crash into my base. My base is not going to be happy. Line up with the connector this way. Come towards the back, line up with the connector this way. Actually I have better visual cues inside the base, but it's harder to see. And then come on down slowly, again maintaining bubble. Connector will grab me. We're in position. Parking brake on. Batteries into charge mode. Lights off. And we're done. Actually, let's go ahead and show you what's happening here. Since I've connected to the base, my cockpit is empty. You can see the refineries. Gotten a nice load of nickel. Here's my medium cargo container, all nice and emptied out. Here's all my drills, all nice and emptied out, and the connector as well. So, just by hooking up everything was emptied out nicely. My base now has a very large load of nickel and a little bit of stone to work on, so it's going to knock out a little bit of gravel. I should probably find a way to fix that even here at the base, and I definitely need to come in and fix that conveyor sorter since it is not connected to, well, anything at the moment, and that's a bad thing. But there we go. That is how you do atmospheric mining. The design of the craft doesn't really matter that much, as you can see. You can clear out most of the stone, so even if you don't have an injector set up, it's not that big of a deal. You'll just be carrying a little bit less of the material you want and a little bit of stone from where you're mining out that material. And just for a point of comparison, let's go ahead and take a look at one of my existing mines. So this is a mining hole that was drifted by Butte. It's pretty good sized. You can kind of start to see the voxel art here a little bit. And you can see that it just gets down here, it rips into things. It has no problems eating all this up. And the hole is large enough that the ship has no real problems moving through it whatsoever. So, feel free to leave any comments, definitely ask any questions that you have. But I hope that you've found this very short, very brief how to mine in survival tutorial useful. Oh, yes, no, I'm not in survival at the moment, simply because I wanted to be able to fly around, I wanted to be able to set the time of the day, all that kind of stuff, give you a really good view of this. It works identically in survival mode. Alright, again, thank you very much. This has been Dominic Falcon, and have a great day.